Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. Look here, y'all. Before I get started, I want to say something that is important to me, and that is I want to thank everybody, all of you out there that listen to my show on a regular basis. Your support means everything to me. I also want to thank, if any of you out there are first-time listeners or casual listeners, coming back and forth. Look, I appreciate you too. None of this will be possible without any of you. I just really appreciate all the grace that you've shown me. It's by God's grace that I'm able to do this. And you really give me a sense of purpose. You help me understand that even in the situation that I'm in, that I can be a positive influence on somebody. And I share these stories because I want people to know what the real is, what's really going on, so you can make an informed decision about your life and make a better decision and don't end up in a situation like me being in prison for the majority of your life. Like I said, I've been in prison more years than I was on the streets, and that's sad. That's a tragedy, but that was my own doing. And I hope that whenever you listen to this show, that you keep that in mind. This is not to glorify anything. This is to let you know what it is, what it really is. And then you decide what you want to do with your life, right? But without all of you, none of this will be possible. And I want to tell you how much I appreciate you. Now, let's get to the show. Today, I'm going to tell you about this guy. Let's call him DB. I met this guy at Turner Center. That's another facility in the state back in, I think, 2008. This brother was in the penitentiary. Let me lay the foundation of why he was here. He was in the penitentiary for a domestic abuse charge, domestic violence, right? Got real ugly. He was the type, you know what? Let me start talking about how he met the girl that he eventually ended up assaulting. DB was one of those dope boys, right? And coincidentally, dope boys is not why I call him DB, okay? But he was a dope boy out there. He was getting money. He wasn't a major, but he was getting his bread. You know what I'm saying? And he was one of those guys that, he looked the part, but he wasn't a bad-looking dude. You know what I'm saying? He had a lot of women looking at him, even though, like I say, he was in the streets. A lot of professional women at that were looking at him. And there was this one particular female that caught his eye. And, she was attracted to him, and she did everything she could to get next to him. And he finally agreed to go out with her. And when they went out, on the very first night that they went out, he showed his true face to her. And when I say true face, I'm talking about who a person really is, okay? Not the persona that you put on when you're trying to impress somebody or that anything like that, right? He really showed her who he was. And let me tell you how he did it, right? They were out at a restaurant, nice restaurant. This is not Red Lobster, even though Red Lobster is cool. You know what I'm saying? Boy, I wish I could eat some Red Lobster right now. But anyway, they were out at this fancy restaurant. It was a steak place, right? You know what I'm saying? And they were there, and they were sitting at the table, and some people came in that knew her. Now, keep in mind, this is first date. Some people came in that knew her, and they spoke. They came over to the table. It was two gentlemen and one female. They were friends of hers, lifelong friends of hers. They came over to the table to introduce themselves to her. And when they did, she introduced him to them, telling them who he was, as much as she, knew about him, and that this was their first date and all this and that. And he just sat there. He sat there, continued to look at the menu, didn't acknowledge them at all. Didn't look up from the menu at all. And awkwardness swept the room. So they continued to talk amongst themselves for a couple of more minutes. And then they finally left her there at the table. And she asked him, she said, "Why were you rude to my friends?" And he said, "I don't know them." She said, "But they came over to speak to me, and I just wanted to introduce you to them since we were out on a date." And again, he told her, "I don't know them. I don't talk to people that I don't know, especially if I didn't introduce myself. I don't need you introducing me to anybody." You know what I'm saying? He was very insecure. And he showed her this face, right? You know what I'm saying? And even though she saw that side of him, she stayed on the date with him. They continued the date, and they had a pretty much, normal date. Other than that, they laughed, they talked. He shared things about himself that she didn't know, such as that he told her. He said, I'm a hustler. I get money. I do all of those things that you hear people doing in the streets. But this didn't turn her off from him. She was a professional woman, And for some reason, this just excited her. And she said, sometimes, you got to have a bad boy in your life. She had no idea what she was talking about because, listen to me, y'all. I heard, I was at church the other night, and Pastor Trey said one thing that stuck with me. We were talking about relationships and things like that. And he said, one bad relationship can change your whole life. One bad one, y'all. Remember that. One bad relationship. Because if you go into it with your eyes glossed over, not understanding the things that you need to understand about when you get to know somebody, like who they really are, what they do, all the flags that come out, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times most people try to hide them, but he didn't try to hide those red flags. All the things that come out to tell you who they really are. You understand what I'm saying? She didn't want to be frightened off by any of that. In fact, like I said, she said those things excited her. So now she's sitting there and she's listening to him. He's telling her everything that you need to know before you say, look here, I'm out. None of that worked on her. So he felt comfortable in being rude, in being disrespectful, in being disobedient to the law, because she was accepting of these things. Now remember that. That's important. I want y'all to remember that. She was accepting of these things, even though this was nowhere near the type of life that she was living. Why would she be accepting of that? I'm thinking, and after talking to him, it was the money. She was a professional woman, right? But you got to remember, because a person puts on a suit or a dress and dresses the part, you never really know what's going on inside of their heart and inside of their minds. And it was clear to me that she was emotionally immature. But hey, we all have growing to do. Let's keep it real. We all have growing to do. So at the end of the day, the date ended. And when he got to her apartment, he asked, could he come in? And now she wants to play the role of the lady. Like, she's like, no, I don't think that's appropriate on the first night. I respect that. He didn't. He said, well, if I can't come in tonight, I'm not coming back tomorrow. And she made the mistake that a lot of people make. She gave in to him, and she let him come in and spend the night. Now, again, I'm a romantic. I believe in love at first sight. I believe in all of those types of things. But this wasn't love. This was lust. He wanted to make sure that she understood that she belonged to him. And he wanted to make sure that that happened tonight. He was so wrapped up in her, accepting all of the bad stuff that he had told her about himself. He wanted to claim her. Listen to what I'm saying, y'all. He wanted to claim her. That night, when she said no, she let him know that he could push past any line, any boundary that she drew. And at that moment, she became not his woman, not his equal partner, but his possession. You hear what I'm saying? She became his possession. So after the first night of them spending the night together, they started to see each other on a regular basis. He continued to see all the other women that he was seeing. But she said the thing that a lot of women say out there, as long as you come home to me. That was cool at first. But then when he brought an STD home, it wasn't cool no more. because now she's in the clinic taking pills for an STD. Luckily, it wasn't HIV, but she's taking pills for an STD that he had brought home to her because she was not messing with anybody else. He was. And she knew it. She knew it. But she accepted that as part of the lifestyle that he was in. Okay? Now keep in mind now, she compromised again. She compromised again. Now here's the problem with compromise when you're dealing with a person of his esteem. It makes a person like him believe that whatever he does is cool. So now he slept with her the first night. He's brought home an STD after only being with her for a few weeks or a few months. He was still out in the streets. He was still messing with multiple women. But they were moving on. She was cool. She was cool. She went, took her pills, cleared up. Now she's back doing what she does, bragging about him. He's taking her out. He's taking her to games. He's taking her to different concerts. They're enjoying life. But she was like his main girl, but she was also his side piece. When he wanted to get away from the streets, he came to her. It was like a relief for him. He became a parasite to her. He was draining her of all of her good energy because he needed that to balance himself out. You understand? He needed her way more than she needed him. But she didn't realize that. And he started to change everything about her. Because see, every now and then, you know how you hear, don't get high off your own supply if you're in the dope game. You know how you hear that, right? You used to hear that back in the day, right? I don't think those rules applied with him because he was snorting cocaine, smoking weed, popping pills, drinking liquor, and you know what happened next, right? You know what happened next. You know how this story goes. She started it. She sees him doing it. She wants to try it. Now she's getting high. She's enjoying herself because she's never felt like that before. She comes from a background to where she don't get down like that. Her parents didn't raise her to do anything like that. She'd never seen a drug until she got with him. An illegal drug anyway. Cocaine, she never seen that before until she got with him. Her experience extended to prescription medication that she got from the doctor and maybe a little weed. But now she's seeing some hardcore stuff. She sees cocaine. And she sees him do it, and he's not jumping all around, bouncing off the walls like people tell you that make you do. He's cool, calm, and collected, wanting to have sex. So she was like, my man does it, I'm going to do it. Again, he pushed past the boundaries. The line that had been instilled in her by her parents to not cross. She allowed him to cross that line. Another red flag. Another red flag. But here we go. After a few months, she has to wake up and take her a bump before she goes to work. Now she's got her own stash in the house. Even when he's not there, he's dropped off some dope. Now she looks around her apartment one day and she sees that, you got dishes in the sink. The couch looks like somebody slept on it. The dog ain't been fed in a couple of days. It's not right because she's a neat freak. She normally keeps a clean house. But she's starting to slip. She's starting to take on the habits of an irresponsible person. What happened? The drugs became more prominent in her life. It became something that she just didn't want to do, that she needed to do. So she kept doing it and kept doing it. And it got more and more prominent. And now it's like when she runs out at home and she can't find him, she goes looking. He hears about it because, he's in the streets. He hears about this woman that is coming down into the hood to buy drugs. And they describe the car to him. It's a nice Mercedes. And he knows who it is. That's his gal. But he don't want nobody to know that's his gal. You know what I mean? So he rides around. He finds her looking. He gets in the car. He says, "What are you doing out here?" She's like anybody that's got an addiction at this point. She's lying to him. He sees straight through that. This is his world now. You know what I'm saying? She can't outmaneuver him in his own world. So what does he do, y'all? Come on, y'all. Y'all know what he did. Y'all know what he did. He hit her with the backhand. He backed her. She had never been hit. Never been hit by a man. Never. And it scared her to death. When he hit her, she jumped out of the car. She ran and then she ran, but she didn't know what to do. She ran down the street, then she ran back to the car, nose bleeding. And she's scared. She's shaking. He's sitting in the car. He's not moving. He's sitting in the car. He looks at her. Get back in the car. Frightened, she grabs the door handle, shaking like a leaf on a tree, y'all. Opens the door. When she opens the door, she said, "Please don't hit me." He said, "Get back in the car, B." She gets back in the car. She sits there. He said, "Look, this is what you're going to do. You go home, and you better be there when I get there. I better not see you out here no more." He looks at her, and he sees a familiar look in her eyes. He sees an addict. He doesn't see that beautiful woman anymore. He sees an addict, somebody that he can control now, somebody that he has perverted, somebody that he has influenced and changed. And like any dope boy looking at an addict, he sees an opportunity to control him. He reaches in his pocket, pulls out a sack, and says, "Take this with you. I'll be there later." He jumps out the car, gets back in his car, and pulls off. What does she do, y'all? She grabs the sack, opens it, tastes it, and then takes her a bump. And then she pulls off. Blood still in her nose, mixed with the cocaine, y'all. You know what it is. She's gone now. She's gone. It's hard to get back from that, y'all. But when she gets back to her apartment, she's in there, and the phone rings. It's her friend, her girlfriend. She answers the phone. She asks her, "Why are you not at work?" She said, "I'm going to take the day off." So she asked, she said, "Is everything okay?" She said, "Yeah, but you don't sound right." She said, "I'm okay, girl." She said, "I'm okay." She said, "I'm going to come by and check on you later." She said, No, you don't need to do that. You don't need to do that." So she hangs up the phone. And her girlfriend never comes by. Nobody stops by. Till later that night, it's dude. She opens the door. Barely dressed. Got on a gown. You know what I'm saying? Junked out. But now her face is swollen. He hit her in her face, right in her nose. So now her eyes are black. Her nose is a little swollen. It's not bleeding anymore. She's high. And he looks at her. He said, "What's wrong with you?" And pushes her down. He's disgusted with her. He's mad at what he has created. And he's blaming her for being the person that she is now. He's not accepting any role, any responsibility in the person that she has become. Why? Because he's selfish. He's a narcissist. He don't care about nobody but himself. He's a parasite. He used her to make himself feel good, to get away from the lifestyle that he loves. And when she becomes a part of that culture, a part of that environment, now he hates her. But he's not going to let her go, though, because he still needs her. She still got blood for him to drain. You understand what I'm saying, y'all? She can still serve a purpose. So now he starts hiding his dope over there, sending guys over there, and y'all know how this thing turns out. One of the guys that really ain't loyal to him, don't care nothing about him, you know what I'm saying? He wants some. So he started pushing up on her. He knows what she wants. He knows what an addict looks like. So he tells her, anytime you're looking for something between me and you, holler at me. Here go my number. So she takes it. Once she took it, he knew what it was. She puts the number in his phone, in her phone, excuse me. Now she's locked in. So now she's got another dude that she can go get something from when he's acting a fool. She's taking on the role of a real addict. She's just trying to satisfy her itch. That's what she's trying to do. It's not about sex with her. She's an addict and she needs to fix. And if she can't get it from him, she's going to get it from somebody else. But man, the story gets so much better. So much better. But you know how I am. Y'all know me. Y'all know, I know some of y'all saying, quit doing me like this. I need to hear the whole thing. I saw the comments. I get it, y'all. But no. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. You want to hear the rest of what's going on with my guy DB, you're going to have to tune in to the next episode tomorrow, right? Y'all hear me? This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.